Today, I will tell you the story of The One Who Watches in the Mirror. The protagonist is a young man who recently moved into an old apartment in the center of the city. He wasn't prepared for what he would face, something beyond explanation. While unpacking his belongings, he discovers an antique mirror covered in dust and dark stains. It appears quite ordinary at first, but something about it makes him feel an unsettling sense of unease. Every time he looks into the mirror, there's this strange feeling that it's not just reflecting him, but watching him. He decides to ignore the odd feeling and leaves the mirror in the corner, no longer paying attention to it. But with each passing day, the unease grows stronger. He starts to realize that the mirror seems to harbor some kind of threat, and it begins to occupy more of his thoughts. Over time, the protagonist begins to notice oddities in his reflection. At some point, he realizes that sometimes his reflection moves a fraction earlier or later than he does. It confuses him, making him feel like something isn't right. He decides to pay closer attention to every detail. One evening, returning home late, he enters the bathroom and sees his reflection blink, even though he himself doesn't. Trying to calm himself, he thinks it's just exhaustion, but gradually he starts to realize he can't shake the feeling. His reflection no longer simply mirrors his movements. It does things on its own, as if it has a life of its own. After this, the protagonist begins to lose confidence in what's happening. The oddities in the mirror become more obvious. One day, he notices distorted shapes, blurry shadows moving within the glass. He decides to dig deeper into his investigation, standing in front of the mirror at night, trying to make sense of it all. He feels as if his reflection is trying to communicate something to him, as if it's attempting to convey some kind of message. He starts to doubt whether his reflection is truly just a reflection, or if it's hiding something. The growing sense of fear begins to take over him, especially when he realizes that it's no longer just mimicking his movements. It starts doing things on its own. Reality itself seems to warp, and he loses the sense of what is truly happening. One day, in a fit of desperation, the protagonist finally decides to destroy the mirror that has become his nightmare. But as soon as he touches its surface, his hand slips through the glass, as if it were liquid. He tries to pull back, but suddenly finds himself on the other side of the mirror. The world he's entered feels unnatural and warped, with every shape appearing distorted and improbable. In his reflection, it's no longer him. It's something dark and sinister. The creature, which was once his reflection, now smiles and slowly moves closer to him. The protagonist, horrified, tries to find a way back, but every step he takes only brings him closer to the monstrous figure. When the protagonist finally finds himself back in the real world, he decides to get rid of the mirror. He throws it away and tries to forget about it, but after a few days, strange things begin to happen. Every new mirror he looks into reflects not him, but his twin, watching him with that sinister smile. He realizes that the mirror he tried to get rid of is still watching him. The creature from the mirror is now always nearby, and its presence cannot be ignored. The more he tries to escape it, the stronger its grip on him becomes.